Hello and welcome to Philosophy Insights. This episode is on Peter Boghossian, who's no stranger to controversy. His bold departure from his university professorship in Portland sparked widespread discussion about academic freedom and the state of higher education, especially in the context of the rising tide of wokeness in the social justice movement. In this interview, Peter shares his unfiltered perspectives on how these ideologies are influencing academic and societal discourse.
College campuses are echo chambers. Students not only don't hear the other side of the issue, but they think they're better people because they don't. So it's an indoctrination mill, a factory, a social justice factory. And so Reed and I go around not just the United States, but the world, and we do spectrum street epistemology. We put match, strongly disagree, slightly disagree, neutral on the other side. And we ask people targeted questions to see if the confidence in their belief is warranted. And invariably, as you can see from literally, I don't even know how many videos now, it's not the case.
I suppose it doesn't surprise you at this point in your career that the people who seem more open to discussing these things tend to lean a little more conservative?
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't say to the right. They lean...
Right, these terms are all becoming sort of...
Right, we don't... Totally, yeah. Here's the other thing I found is that invariably people in the United States, when you ask college kids, and you can see this in all the videos, they're looking for reasons to be offended. They're looking to be upset. But when we do this here, you don't see that. It's the feel is different, the tenor is different, and we've done Israeli-Palestinian problem, we've done virtually every transgressive problem one can think of. But this idea that I'm a good person because I'm offended by this, because I don't even know I've been indoctrinated by my institution. It's a serious problem.
You've been so in on this, not because of just what you do publicly now, but you were at Portland State.
Right.
You were teaching ethics or philosophy?
Philosophy and ethics, critical thinking.
Yeah, and
reasoning.
One of the first public gigs that I ever did was you invited me up there with Christina Hoff.
Yeah, we had a great time.
And it was the three of us, but the amount of security, it was the first time.
Just telling some the people with the shields, we had to go into the room.
And we were with Christina, who I remember she had the daintiest little wrists.
Right.
And I remember thinking they were screaming that we were Nazis and all this stuff. And how this woman couldn't, she's like the softest woman you could possibly imagine. They're calling me a homophobe and you're a Nazi. And Andy No was just in here.
Right.
And Andy No at that time was a student there.
Right.
And now he's obviously become a huge voice in all this.
Yeah.
But I mention that because it's like you were on the academic side.
Right.
Now you're on the other side, but you left. I mean,
I had to leave.
Peter Boghossian became especially known for the Grievance Studies Affair, also known as Sokol Squared, involving also James Lindsay and Helen Pluckrose. They submitted intentionally absurd research papers to academic journals in the fields of cultural, queer, and gender studies. Their aim was to expose a lack of rigorous scholarship in these fields, particularly concerning identity politics and social justice. The problems of social justice moving from universities into society in large raises a critical question. What is the counterproposal to the current trends in social justice activism?
Just imagine what we were doing to students. We were telling them they were getting an education. We were doing them a disservice. They weren't getting an education. They thought they were being educated, educare to lead out of. They weren't getting that. And anyone who stayed in that system basically perpetuated an injustice. And it was almost criminal what we were doing to those kids. So Portland State was the nucleation point before the mass explosion. Like, it's most easy to see in Portland, at Portland State.
Yeah.
And all the derangements, everything, defund the police, abolish prisons, all the total craziness. By the way, Portland's murder rate has shot up. The police force is down to an all-time low. I think there's only one traffic cop in the whole city, so you drive around, people do donuts in the street. I mean, there were necessary consequences to public policies.
So what is the better story? That's the other question I'm asking everybody here, since that's the whole idea of the comments. What is the better story, other than, let's respect each other?
No, that's bullshit. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I feel comfortable with that. Demonetized.
You're really doing it, man.
Well, one of the things I've come to figure out what that is, but I have my own answer to the question. But I genuinely want to listen to hear what other people have to say. Here's my
So
answer.
that's the beauty of this, by the way. Everyone's presenting their own argument for this. I don't think anyone's coming here and saying it's my way or the highway. I mean,
Yeah, well, I'm going to find out.
Yeah.
I'm going to find out. That's why I'm here. Here's my answer to that. Western values are worth defending. Freedom is worth defending. Enlightenment values, freedom of the press, freedom of association, freedom of speech. I don't want another echo chamber. I don't want to be in a place where if I give a secular blasphemy, or say something heretical, I want to hear voices in the Israeli-Palestinian debate. I think that we have strayed so far from thinking about what's worth defending and what's worth valuing that we are reverting to kind of this pre-medieval tribalism. And my hope for this, you didn't ask me what my hope is, but my hope is that we move beyond cliches and platitudes. We move beyond, if I hear one more person, I want peace, I want justice. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Great, fine. By the way, when certain people say justice, they don't traffic in the term
Right.
in the way that sane people traffic in that term. But my hope for this is that we have tangibles, deliverables that are actionable, that we can achieve some kind of a consensus on. It doesn't have to be a universal consensus, but we can agree that this is how we move forward. And my other hope for this conference is that dissident voices are not just allowed but fostered.
Rubin and Boghossian disagree, however, on what that implies for living choices.
It's interesting, I do think there are ways forward. Like, if you read Lincoln's second inaugural address, he talks about friendship and the need for a kind of reconciliation. And if the very idea that we're talking about a national divorce is so insane to me, it's so crazy that we've lost the tools to deal with problems, how to navigate conversations. People only like to hang out with people who like things. They want to move to blue states or red states. Look, you can move anywhere you want, but that's not helping. That's actually entrenching the division, right? Because then you don't even know anybody outside your bubble. So
on that one, I can actually make the total counter argument, which is that you should live in a place that is more in line with your values, and that by someone like me leaving California, where I was in essence literally and figuratively paying into a system that was taking away my rights and locking me in my home and spending my money on nonsensical programs that was leading to homelessness and crime and blah, 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 that I put that aside and said, hey, I will go to a place where my values are valued and then strengthen that. I think that to me, that's the beauty of federalism. But I get what you're saying. In the long term, then it's like, well, what is the United States?
Well, I'll give you what you're looking for. You have every right to do that. And Schellenberger's written about that. For the Newsom's policies on homelessness are literally backwards. San Francisco's are literally back. Shelter first, housing earned. The problem in aggregate, though, if everybody did that, nobody would even know someone who has a different opinion. Like, no one would get to hang out. You wouldn't go, you wouldn't go to a dinner party in which you'd view people who are hardcore inveterate leftists or liberals or what have you, and then one of the reasons that people used to accept gays is that if they knew someone who was gay. Mm-hmm. And so the very fact that people won't get exposed to you and see you on a personal level, that might be great for you to move to Florida, but it's not doing the social milieu any good. It's not doing the culture any good. It's not there's a book called The Big Sort a while ago. It's not doing anybody any favors by dividing it to these ideological tribes. Yeah. It's not that you don't have a right to do that. Of course you have a right to do that.
Right. No, there's sort of like the granular problem of one's own life and where do you want to live to flourish. And then there's like the meta problem of what do we do with a society that is fraying.
And I will be the first to admit I moved out of Portland. Yep. I moved out of Portland.
Which I was pushing you to do.
Because I couldn't stand Ted Wheeler. I had very serious security concerns. I moved out of Portland because I just so fundamentally disagreed with the policies. The danger you call. So can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah.
So I was driving back from a friend's house one night, Saturday night, and I saw this guy driving like a lunatic, like truly cracked out or what have you. So I do what any sane person does. Let me just pause my story. If I have to call 911,
something's gone really wrong.
For me to call 911, there'd have to be some like genuine catastrophe.
Right.
So I call 911, I'm on hold. I'm on hold. So meanwhile, I'm following this guy. I don't even know how many minutes I was, minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes on hold. Then he saw me, and then he started chasing me in his car because I was on the phone trying to call to say, hey, the guy's here at this intersection there. He's going to kill somebody. He's literally going to run someone over. 911 doesn't answer.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy videos like this, please subscribe and hit the notification bell.